In this video, I'm going to show you what I do to create a filmic, grungy type of look. We have our clip here. So the starting point was this, and I ended up here, which I'm pretty happy about. I'm going to show you exactly how I got there. First things first, grouping all my clips, it's shot in red. We're going to talk about the look aspect. So we'll be working in the group post clip. This is just a very basic power grade that I'll come back to in a second. The main thing is the group level where I created the vibe of the shot. So let's turn everything off. Step one, I'm already working in the red color space, so I only need a CST at the end. So this is my end CST. That's going to turn it from red to Rec 709 2.2. So this is what we get out of the camera. Next step I take is I try and add a filmic contrast to it. I use a free DCTL called Filmic Contrast, and I'll leave the link to that at the bottom of this video. It's a really handy tool. You can see it has these sliders of exposure, contrast. You can play around with the shoulder, the fall off, and I fiddled around with it until I landed here. You see, it's not a massive change, but it adds that filmic faded type of look. You can see the values here that I used specifically for this shot. Next thing, I wanted to inject some color. What I like to do is use a splitter and a combiner. So this is a splitter, this is a combiner. It splits your image in red, green, and blue. And then in each one of these boxes, I can independently manipulate those colors. To make this, you add a splitter, you add a combiner, then you can add a node here, add a node here, and then you just connect them like this. So that'll be red, green, and blue. After I did that, let me just turn this on. If I want to affect the red, I only need to move the luma curve. Same goes for green and blue. I pulled down on red, so less red. I left the greens, and then blue, I pull down to introduce more yellow to get that grungy type of look. Now you can, theoretically, not use the splitter and combiner and just say, do you know what, I just want to do it in one node. You can do that. Then you just have to independently say, okay, I'm going to affect red here. I'm going to affect blue here. And then let's say you leave green. I prefer it this way because I feel like I can make a lot of like minor adjustments a lot easier than everything being in one node. After I got there, I felt like it was a bit too like light. I wanted a bit crunchier. So I added this guy, custom curve, pulled down the shadows a bit. After I injected the color, I wanted to make sure my blacks were clean. And how I did that was in Luma versus Sat, the darker it gets, the less saturation it has. So I got here. And then I wanted to add more of a filmic type of feel. And the DCTL I use is called Filmverse. This is a paid DCTL. I'm not sponsored by these guys at all, but I really do like the result this thing gives. It gives grain, a lot of manipulation in grain. It gives halation, and it gives a certain type of softness. So I'm actually just going to full view this so that you can see what it's actually doing. Let's go there. If I turn this on and off, it adds a very filmic quality, which I really like. Now, if you don't want to buy this DCTL, you can get a similar type of look by potentially using tools in DaVinci, which is the grain and the halation. And you can turn this guy off. You can definitely play around with this halation and grain inside of DaVinci. I have tried to match it with this DCTL and I just couldn't do it. So that's why I use this DCTL. I think it's really good. But obviously if you don't have it, feel free to use this halation and film grain. You just remove that, add that back there. Yeah, this thing gets a really nice softness feel to it. And lastly, I wanted to get it a bit more grungier, but I liked where the parade was sitting. So I just wanted to add mid-tone detail. Now what I also did, actually after this that I'll just show you, is in my node tree, I made an adjustment. So I'm just going to turn this adjustment off to show you what it would look like before I made that adjustment. So I created this look, but for me, his skin felt too green because we injected a lot of color. So I wanted his face just to kind of like stand out a bit more and a bit more separation. And also what bothered me was, you'll see when he lights it here, his hands and his face are different colors. That's something that I'd tackle on a per clip basis. So what I did was, it's just a hue versus hue curve, and I got his skin there. So it just matches a bit more. So there to there. Let's see what we started with. So we started with log, added a Rec 709 transformation, and then after all these adjustments, we landed here. Hopefully some of these tips can help you if you are trying to create a similar type of feeling for your project. Obviously, feel free to play around with it as much as you want until you are happy and your look is dialed in.